Okay, so we are live. We are existing. We are doing this thing that we call I don't know. Okay, so uh, okay, what's good? How you doing? How is you? What to do, baby? Okay, so yeah, really. Also, give me a moment. I just want to look at everything. Checks out. Yeah, I think I have to change my background a little, but what else? It will suffice for now. Okay, so here's the deal. Here is the deal. Um, I gotta pull stuff up before we begin, but nonetheless, we have an idea where we have the topic of the day, the goal that we will be discussing. We're going over as best we can. Yeah, which I have my hypothesis about and all that bullshit. Um, but yeah, till I get this shit going, I will be pulling up a couple things. Just um, damn, stupid. Uh, 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 interesting. Okay, whew. Yo, one thing I gotta say, this restream stuff really makes me like, yo, I'm at Christmas bingo with Mox and her mom. Have a good stream. I've had a chance to go on Rivals today, so definitely hopping on when we get back home. Sounds good. Sounds good. Good to know. Good to know. And also, yo, fucking kill it at bingo. Kill that shit. Fuck that shit up. Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah. So, um, yeah, I'm really contemplating if Restream is even worth it. Uh, yeah, this is kind of wild. The more and more I think about Restream, the more I'm like, dude, I don't really need this. I don't think I need this that bad. Uh, yeah, yeah. So debatable the necessity of having Restream, but because if I'm just gonna like edit this shit and like post on YouTube after, what's the point of me streaming on YouTube? But then again, it doesn't hurt to just be live on YouTube. The only thing that annoys me is like the title of the stream and stuff, and I hate editing it. And there's, I don't know. Maybe I just have to figure something out with Restream before I continue doing this. But yeah, uh, maybe this is on me. Maybe this is me being brain dead and not knowing how to use the technology itself. But being live on Twitch and YouTube. Well, I'm also like still small, so I don't see any point or benefit of being live on YouTube yet. So yeah, TK, are you going to eventually explain the alternative route for young struggling men of yo? I hate you so much for even posting, bro. Why couldn't you post that anywhere else? I hate you so much. I opened that. I opened what you put in the stream topics. I'm like, oh shit, look at Hangnail. Look at Hangnail just fucking helping me out. Sending a video to like just add to the fucking topic. Bro, I clicked on it at like legitimately when you typed in yeah at 12:55 is when I put that video on. I was like, bro, this is such a distraction from what I actually want to do today. And yeah, yeah. I'm just see this is the thing. This is the thing. This is what I love where we can be serious and also have fun at the same time with like we can add humor and like stupidity to being serious about topics. Yo, honestly, part of the my current situation right now is that is the person's theme song for why I'm in the situation that I'm currently in. The irony of that song, I'm like, bro, the part of me, the pettiness within me that just wants to like send this, yeah, no, that is, yeah, that is the person's theme song. So I'm just like, yo, this is this has nothing to do with what I want to talk about today, but very relevant to my life right now. So so thank you for that. As much as I hated seeing that, I'm like, okay, this doesn't fucking help anything. Um, I did appreciate the video still. So small things, gotta appreciate the little things. You could be serious and have fun at the same time. So obviously, yeah, fucking curveballs, wrenches. Yo, this community throws everything at me. It is so tough for me to like be this serious advocate for anything with this community, but I appreciate you guys nonetheless. Um, but yeah, so topic of the day, sensitivity difference within sensitivity amongst generations. I probably won't have access to any scholarly articles, so we will be just going off of whatever I can find and go off of the articles that I stumble upon. But with that being said, um, I think a great place to start is, or something that I think is very important is when we talk about how sensitive or soft the next generation is, or how sensitive or soft people are getting. There may be some truth to that, but if someone or if you find that there's a consistency of sensitivity amongst people or a group of people, one of the most detrimental things in society, at least to myself, that is the fact that people will generalize an idea and just take it as fact and walk away with that. And what is so detrimental about that is the lack of asking the proper questions. Because just taking something at face value and then living with that as, okay, this is real. This makes sense to me, and I'm not going to double check if I'm conforming to one of my biases. I'm not like, are you only looking for confirmation bias? What's going on here? So the detrimental part is not asking the right questions. And when you hear that the next generation is too sensitive, or kids are just like too sensitive nowadays, that everyone's getting softer, whatever it may be, one of the most important questions, at least to me, because I'm a big advocate for problem solving. So one of the questions that I think the average rational human being should ask themselves is, why would they be getting softer? What are the variables that would increase this hypersensitivity epidemic that's going on with the next generation? So before I do digging, before I look more into this, as all research starts, you must have yeah. As all research starts, you must have a hypothesis. And my hypothesis to begin with on this topic is, if there is something that you believe is um what would be the right word? If maybe do I have it? Do I have it? If you believe that there is something that is getting out of hand, and you take the time to ask yourself, why is this getting out of hand? Is it possible that whatever is happening may be an overcorrection? So, for example, if the generations are getting too sensitive and they're just getting softer and softer, if that is it possible that that is an overcorrection for the lack of consideration, the lack of emotional and mental health consideration that we had before the current generations? And if that is an overcorrection, is it right to demonize that without, or is it right to demonize an overcorrection? Because an overcorrection means that there was something wrong to begin with. An overcorrection is overstepping the boundaries of what we would consider normal. So if you take a step back and you look at things on, if you just look at the past 10 years of society, and you look at all the overcorrections that have been made, but the rational people will take a step back and say, okay, I think we're taking things a little too far. Now, if we're going to be hyperbolic about a hypercorrection to disregard what needed to be corrected, see, this is where we step into like victim blaming almost, where we are, as humans and on a grand scale of things, we are doing our best to correct tendencies, consistencies that we have in our social lives. But the moment we start to demonize the correction because it is becoming an overcorrection, is when we're losing ourselves to the plot. We need to be able to understand that the overcorrection that we are doing is part of the process to figure out the correct path forward. This happens in everything. This is part of being human. This is part of being this is part of having our consciousness. This is what humans do best. We adapt. The reason why we are in many ways considered the best mammal on this planet is because our ability to adapt to scenarios, and you could even say improvise, is unmatched in comparison to all the other life forms on this planet. So, we, in my opinion, we should not demonize our ability, or we should not demonize the process that we are going through. But yet, when you look on a political scale, a social scale, however you want to consider it, there is demonization of the natural human process. And this is where I think we need to take a step back to actually understand what is going on. Whoa, that was a mouthful. But all in all, to simplify my hypothesis, it would be, if the generations are indeed getting softer, it is an overcorrection for the malpractice of mental and emotional health that we've had in previous years. You know, like domestic abuse was the norm at some point, and it's like, well, we don't make kids the way we used to. Yeah, your kids aren't like crying themselves to sleep. So I don't know how you want to like look at the comparisons there, but I think that there's something to be said that yeah, if there's an overcorrection being made, maybe take a step back and see how can we find the balance between the two worlds. You know, like this is dark, but I'm someone that would always make the joke that how can you raise a child without like a little bit of trauma, you know? Like a little bit of trauma. Like what's wrong with a little bit of trauma? That builds character, you know? Look at me. And then then maybe if you take a step into a therapy office and uh you realize, maybe I didn't need all of that. So yeah. Um so with that being said, yeah, now we do some digging. Okay. Getting real with Gen Z, sensitivity, neurodivergence, and the search for meaning. Okay, I don't think this is really going to help us, but nonetheless, um, let's see. Let's see what it does. This powerful article offers a deeply human portrait of Generation Z, one that challenges common stereotypes and reveals a generation driven by intuition, authenticity, and a search for meaning based on years of qualitative and quantitative research. It explores how Gen Z's feelings of not fitting in are often rooted in their sensitivity, neurodivergence, and emotional depth. From spiritual experiences to early identity crises, this generation is pushing back on outdated systems and demanding more honest, empathetic engagement from brands, educators, and researchers alike. For marketers and researchers looking to connect with Gen Z in ways that truly resonate, this piece is both a wake up call and a guide. Actually, this reminds me, there's one more thing I wanted to add. Um, I do also think that when we consider the next generation, um, beautiful. So I do think that when we consider the next wow, words, when we consider the next generation to be softer or more sensitive, I also think that this is not a hypothetical. This is a projection. Okay, I'm gonna fucking restart all of that because I'm a fucking brain dead idiot. Um, so when we consider the next generation to be more sensitive or softer than previous ones, I do think that this stems from a projection because the next generation is a lot more fundamentally aware of their emotions and their own capabilities and what they, in general, what they want to do. And the reason why I say that these statements are coming from a place of projection is because previous generations have, in my opinion, I could be wrong with this, but in my opinion, have less self respect. And what I mean by that is that there's less capability of setting boundaries. There's an inability to actually take a step back and say, I don't want to do this. But there's always this need to fulfill a task that is given to them. So I feel like that there's like a trauma response there that it's like, no, I need to put effort. I need to sacrifice myself in order to have meaning to my existence. Whereas the following generations have kind of stepped away from that, where it's like, I know what I bring to the table and you are going to give me, or uh, in many ways you could say that there needs to be a fair exchange. I'm not going to do and expect you to give me what I deserve. I know what I deserve rather than having this, oh, you're going to give me what I deserve. So I think that there is a projection on why do you get to do that and I never could, but this is where society is moving. Okay, so yeah, that's another hypothesis just to be added for maybe we'll uncover this, maybe we will not, but that's just another aspect as well. Um, I remember conducting a powerful interview with Jim, a 17-year-old boy, about the impact of COVID 19 on young people. At one point, he proudly, almost provocatively, told me about his involvement in a major riot against the lockdown and curfew measures. Oh, wow. While telling his story, I could sense he was watching me closely, checking if I would judge him. I didn't. I simply smiled and said I sensed he expected a negative reaction, but I had no judgment, just curiosity. He laughed, surprised and disarmed by my honesty, and I instantly knew he had been testing me. I must have passed. It sparked a beautiful, honest conversation. He explained that one reason for joining the riot was to release the energy bottled up during lockdown, but it was also a way of fighting the system, which led to a much deeper discussion. I feel different, he said. Like I don't belong in this strange, crazy world. I even became depressed and needed help. But it took a year before I could see a therapist due to their intense workloads. When I finally got there, I quit after 2 sessions. She didn't try to understand me, just ticked boxes. He paused and added, "To be honest, this is the first time I feel someone is truly trying to understand me." Okay, I have a lot to say about that. Um uh wow. Okay, where to begin? So, I think that there's something to say about the testing aspect. Um there just from this like beginning paragraph, again, this is all hypothetical. This is just like the opinion that I'm getting from it. This is my perspective on it. um this is someone that cares more about feeling heard than anything else, which with my unlicensed and uncertified ability to diagnose people, these what I'm getting from this stems a lot more from like someone that may have like borderline, but don't listen to me. This is me just, again, this is all perspective. This is me talking out of my ass. For nearly 20 years, I've immersed myself in Gen Z's world to understand who they are beneath the surface. With a background in industrial design, marketing, and intuitive development, I love. Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. My bad. My bad. Um. Uh. Where was I? Was her background design, marketing, intuitive. I love uncovering what lives deep inside people's hearts and turning it into insights and inspiration. Through countless qualitative studies and by guiding over 250 students in personal development, I realized some negative perceptions of Gen Z didn't align with my findings. Many hide their deepest feelings out of fear of being judged for not fitting the norm, how they look, act, or feel. Social media only amplifies this, presenting idealized images that even influencers can't live up to. Despite all the efforts around inclusion, we often overlook one simple truth: everyone is different, whether it's skin color, weight, height, sexuality, accent, hair, glasses, uh, education level, or neurodivergence. No one fits every ideal or norm. Again and again, I heard young people say, "I feel different. I don't fit in." That hit me. So, um, I don't think this article is going to relate exactly to what I wanted to get, but one thing I will take from this paragraph that I just read is I think that there's something to say about the next generation being able to, or Gen Z in general, being able to take a step back and say, I feel different, like I don't fit in. I feel like previous generations did their best to fit in, even if they didn't. And I think that there's something to say about forcing something to work when it shouldn't necessarily work. You know, this is what words. This is why I will always say nobody cares about effort, people care about outcomes. This is like my general rule of thumb for the world. So when it comes to fitting in, people think that, oh, if I put enough effort, I will fit in. But no, everything is outcome based. I will save uh, the rest of this conversation for a different day, just to have like a proper like full blown conversation about outcomes and effort and the differences between them. This inspired me to dig deeper. In 2015, I launched a large scale study in the Netherlands, starting with 60 in depth interviewers with 5 to 20, wait, with 5 to 25-year olds and 11 parents. I simply wanted to understand who they were, what truly mattered as home. Okay, I think I'm skipping this article because generations, Maslow. Okay, wait. While the many Gen Zers navigate life guided by intuition, sensing the things beyond logic. Okay. While these qualities aren't exclusive to Gen Z, they now surface with greater visibility in generation. Okay. So, okay, you know what? Um, this is this something that I can always find? Um, oh, yo, this is like everywhere. Sick. Okay, I could pull this up whenever the fuck I want. Ooh. Okay. 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 So, um, so Generation Z, living from your heart and according to inner wisdom and intuition. Generation Y, a meaningful life and fully utilizing your capacities, mental and emotional development. Generation X, getting the best out of yourself and seeking appreciation, success, and recognition. Baby boomers, love, friendship, belongings, and community. Silent generation, safety, security, order, and structure. Physiological needs such as eating, drinking, sleeping, breathing, and sex. Okay, I don't know what that has to do with this, but uh, you can just looking at this, you can almost see, and you could almost like see the like shift from like conservatism to like liberalism within this. Um, it's crazy that if this is truly accurate, this is like a very interesting. I'm gonna do more research into this in my free time. Neurodivergence, negative traits, or hidden superpowers. Okay, so yeah, this is all about fucking ADHD. Okay, cool. Okay, next article. The Reflector, December 12th, 2025. Oh, this came out October 12th, 2016. Oversensitivity in recent generations. Okay, cool. My life as a 19-year-old female between two very different generations of X's and Z's has been an interesting one thus far. My bittersweet existence between these different generations bumps against both ends of this wave pool. The deeper end of this wave pool contains Generation X, and a generation often criticized for its all about me mentality and praised for its handpicked higher educated individuals. In the shallow end, for more obvious reasons, is Generation Z, the generation picking up speed to trample over my generation's foreground, and our parents and grandparents with new and improving technologies. How sensitive this young and flourishing Generation Z has made itself out to be infuriates me almost as much as the 2016 presidential election. I only claim this generation to be as sensitive as it is because I've seen the sensitivity in action. The way our shared social media outlets have shaped these young people is turning them into mindless zombies. Okay, this is interesting. This also, okay, so just to begin, just to begin, what I'm about to read is coming from or based off of how the intro has begun. It feels like it's coming from a place of bias. Like this is where you're looking to prove what you want to be true, but I could be proven wrong. This is a hypothesis of their introduction. So there's clearly something that um, in writing this person wants to prove, but at the same time, if this person is good at their job, this is a great way to reel people in and then to offer the other side of the coin. So, according to the Center for Generational Kinetics, though I have to disagree, Gen Z is more concerned than other generations about online privacy in a number of areas, such as playing with debit or credit cards and online dating. The unnecessary surplus of social media outlets that Gen Z has been born into has seemingly diverted their expected attention and well behaved manners away from the other forms of human life. Any form of casual human interaction between Gen Zs and Gen Xs sucks. Whatever life remains out of, whatever life remains out of those X's and shoves it down the drains of the lifeless Z's. Damn. Um, Exchange words of humor, sarcasm, or dry humor voiced by those Gen X's create gaping holes of negative sensitivity in the once beating hearts of the Gen Z's. Okay, this is interesting. Bro, we just shit. Yo, this article is just shitting on Gen Z's. Like, bro, if your job is to shit on Gen Z's, bro, it's right here. Every Monday through Friday, I sit through a number of collegiate level courses and observe different teaching styles and how they vary among each of my professors. Countless times, I have held conversations with my professors and students alike about the lack of communication skills in young people today. These young people include the tail end of Gen Y and almost all of Gen Z. Oftentimes, I find that my own attention is drawn away from human interaction, and I'm attracted to my phone more than friendly faces. Most Gen Y people will admit to being guilty of biting into the enticing poisoned apple that our assorted electronics offer. Okay, so this is a sidebar. This has like nothing to do with what I'm necessarily like going over right now. Um, but what I will say is, so I think that there is something to say about technology and the rise of like podcasts and just like vlogging and just streaming in general, you could say. So in the rise of all these forms of entertainment, instead of, or you could just, again, this is my hypothesis, you can attribute the rise of technology and people being obsessed with watching entertainment rather than interacting with people stems from instant gratification and the ability to, instead of me listening to someone that I don't really care to listen to, I can just pick the content that I want to listen to. So the rise of like podcasts and all this stuff does bring like a very human connection where it's like you almost feel part of the conversation almost, and it's a very like introverted look on things where introverts will, or introverts like to just be the fly on the wall, you know, just take a step back and like listen to other people. So I think the rise in podcasts stems from this place of I could, in a sense, be in a room with a conversation that I actually want to be a part of rather than spend time with people that I don't necessarily get along with or don't share the same, you know, like there's, I think that there's an argument there for how we want to spend our time that is evolving because of technology. So this is where I would argue, or I would just bring up that I think creating spaces to have more and more actual conversations with people is like the future that we need to head down to have like better conversations and also create spaces that are more engaging for people to be interacting with others. You know, like if we are going in the direction of technology, why are we not creating said spaces so that we can almost, instead of like going out to meet new people, creating spaces that allow for like proper engagement, which honestly that's like in a sense like Discord in a nutshell. But the average person that isn't part of like Gen Z doesn't know what Discord is. So, and yeah, obviously millennial, like it's Discord is big. I'm just saying it isn't as big as it could be. Okay. So nonetheless, I think that there is something to say about creating the spaces so that um, we can almost uh, what's the word? Okay, yeah. There's something to say about creating the spaces so that we can replicate going out and meeting new people and doing it in like a healthy way that you won't like get catfished and shit like that online, you know? Um, so again, I think the rise in podcasts is when people feel isolated and like the article that we went over previously, there's with Gen Z's, there's this feeling of I don't fit in, whereas you can find the podcast that relates to you and that makes you feel like you fit in and you're going to be a fly on a wall to those conversations rather than engage with people that don't let you that you just feel uncomfortable with. If you don't feel like you fit in, why am I going to like go out of my way to have like conversations with these people when I could just at a click of a button just watch and like engage in conversations with people that I want to listen to or I feel like I agree or I relate to these people, as well as this is like community building in many ways. And then there was something else I wanted to add to that. So in the previous article, let's just open this up. So in the previous article, oh man, what happened here? Okay, anyways. So here, going, oh, yo, what is this? What is happening here? Okay, so going back to like the beginning, so like the first paragraph, what did this Gen Z say? Okay, so the hesitancy. While telling his story, I could sense that he was watching me closely, checking if I would judge him. I didn't. I simply smiled and said I sensed the expected that he expected a negative reaction, but I had no judgment, just curiosity. He laughed, surprised and disarmed by my honesty, and I instantly knew he had been testing me. I must have passed, or yeah, I must have passed. So right there, there's this thing about um the I would say Gen Zs are more apprehensive and do their best to test to see if like am I even welcomed in this conversation, whereas um if I can avoid like Gen Zs have the ability to avoid the situations and environments that previous generations were forced to sit in, and it's like okay, you're here, just live with it. Like you need to adapt to this situation, you need to live within whatever context or environment you are put in, you know. um that's why like even now it's so much more common for people to just like distance themselves from their parents. They're like no, like we might be related by blood, you might be my parents, but it's like there's nothing here. You're like how you treat me isn't right, and I'm not gonna like tolerate it, and I'm gonna like walk away from this. So in many ways, I would say that the a lot of a lot of people that preach that Gen Zs are too sensitive. Again, this is my hypothesis. I feel like this is coming from a place of narcissism, where it's like, oh, you don't think I can control you? Well, then, well, you're just too sensitive, you know. So Yeah, and I think that with technology, Gen Zs are capable of distancing themselves from the environments that they don't want to be a part of, and then they can go to podcasts and other forms of or other forms of content that they feel like relate closer to them, or at least closer to their ideologies, and they feel like they fit in. And again, the podcasts recreate this like I get to be a fly on a wall to another conversation, which is like an introvert's dream. You know, like an introvert at a party is a type of person that like isn't going to necessarily engage with people, but they'll sit back and they're always listening. You know, so I think that there's something to say about that, and also being comfortable in just being like I want to put my energy into like things that I enjoy. I'm not going to force myself to put energy into things that like aren't for me or I don't feel like I fit in doing them. And again, this isn't me saying like this is the right way. As I said in the beginning, I think when it comes to like sensitivity or being too soft or whatever, I feel like there has been like an overcorrection, which in my opinion, there's never anything wrong with an overcorrection. I believe that everything should be, or sorry, an overcorrection is better than no correction because an overcorrection allows you to collect more data to figure out what the correct direction to go in is. So yeah, yeah. So going forward, yeah, let's just go back to this. Okay, so yeah, this was her. This was whatever she's doing. According to Stanford Research Institute, the money you make in any endeavor is determined 12.5% by knowledge and 87.5% by your ability to deal with people. It's a rather frightening thought because communication is the foundation for pay in the future careers of these individuals. It's scary for current college students and hopefully for those who are serious about pursuing a higher education because all of our money is being poured and will be poured into courses taught sometimes by computers and electronic media. Sensitivity is the dress worn at this sensitivity is the dress worn at this ball on account of Gen Z kids not being taught otherwise. Okay. So the more and more I'm reading this, I don't feel like this article is gonna like take a turn at all. But again, I could still be proven wrong. But it's just the vibe I'm getting. Okay, okay, cool. From my own experience, almost 13 and 14-year-old preteen tightly. Okay, I did not read that properly. From my own experience, almost every 13 and 14-year-old preteen tightly holds onto the distasteful, holier than thou attitudes and projects them upon their parents. These little Z kids seem to have never left that know it all stage. Much like what the Gen X's were criticized for, a notable trend of me attitude has surfaced like the acne of a ripening 13-year-old just trying to scrape along through the angsty years of middle school. So, social media outlets housed on smartphones awarded to smart mouth unappreciative kids such as Instagram and Tumblr have allowed individuals to freely express their artistic individuality. Not only have the outlets accommodated their freedom of expression, they also have supplied attention hungry individuals the opportunity to pose with their favorite and more expensive designer trends like depression and tranquility through photography. Okay. As one Gen Z would call it, their aesthetics have really been put in the spotlight for everyone to see that it's all about me. By aesthetics, I rightfully mean hashtags and captions to make Bay jealous and freed body parts positioned with care to capture candid photos at a concert full of flower crowns. According to the for Generational Kinetics, Gen Zs say that social media affects them internally more than any other generation, including their own happiness and self esteem. Naive little children running around with their glazed over eyes glued to the hunk of wisdom in their palms, who consecutively bumping into an elderly woman without excusing themselves, is the future. Is the future I see for the newest generations to come. I will be that elderly woman. How the remainder of Gen X and the fullest of Gen Y will convey a lessened sensitivity, more communication, higher responsibility, and respect, and self-respect and motivation to those negligent Gen Zs is beyond my reach. Perhaps a handful will grab a hold of this printed article, ask what it is, and curiously stumble upon this Hail Mary to wise up a bit. Mind my opinion. Okay, so in the end, I was correct about this article. All this, all this to say that I feel like I feel like this article stems into what I said previously, and the person writing this article is projecting their lack of self-respect. And even in how like it concluded, it sounds a lot more like I didn't get like I never got to like have this me moment. Why do you get to have it? Because like I said, I think that there's something there to go, or there's something to say about the ability to have, or I think that there's something to say about starting from a place of having self-respect rather than what we have right now is in like millennials and boomers and stuff, where it's like we're talking to people that have absolutely no self-respect. And the reason why they need therapy is so that they can gain a sense of it. So this is something, or this is where all I hear is jealousy more than I hear actual like evidence of something that is dramatically or actually like the end of the world. I could be wrong. I'm sure like I will come across other studies, and if you have studies or articles that you'd like me to read, please like reach out and send them to me. I'm always looking for like multiple perspectives and information in general. So, yeah, no, there's more anger and frustration in this article than there is producing actual knowledge or contextualizing things. This, instead of like, where also this article is written to like give a point, and it is well written in that sense. But I find that there's too much of a fixation, or there's too much of why can I not think of the word? There's too much of looking for the information to prove their own confirmation bias than there is contextualizing all the information. And it isn't to say that like the information here is incorrect, because I agree with the me and all, like factually I agree with a lot of points made here. What I am expressing is that there is a lack of contextualization and interpretation going on, where it is just the first thing that comes to, like, I have this information, the first thing that comes to mind is the truth. This is also like in my hypothesis, it's what I started with at the beginning of this stream. What I started with was the people like to make a vague assumption or a generalization and then just like take that as fact. There is no like asking other questions or even asking the right questions to better understand a situation, to have proper contextualization of what's going on, and to properly understand how we can create a solution moving forward. Whereas this to me is more I'm complaining, and then at the end it's like, well, maybe a curious Gen Z will stumble upon this Hail Mary to wise up a bit. Like that's not that like again. So the irony in this, I would actually say, is that at the beginning, oh no, wait, that was a different article. My bad. Actually, no, no, it's still ironic because where is this? From my own experience, okay, yeah. So from my own experience, almost every 13 and 14-year-old preteen tightly holds onto the distasteful, holier than thou attitudes and projects them upon their parents. These little Z kids seem to have never left that know-it-all stage. So ironically, um, the claim that is being made is that Gen Zs need to wisen up, but I think that they're like this is the generalized, vague statement that you're just gonna run with as like this is the be all end all. Instead of actually like taking the time to actually understand where people are coming from or how they feel. Ironic, also on top of that, what adds to this even more is that like in the previous article we read, um, it was this person found that it's like the average Gen Z doesn't feel like they fit in, like they don't feel in touch with, like they don't feel like they have a group to go to. And then this one is saying like, oh, this one's just projecting attitudes and stuff. But it's like, why? Why would somebody be projecting these attitudes? And why are they so protective of themselves? Whereas if you take a step back, was there ever a time that you were protective of yourself and that was destroyed by your parents because of the social structures that were put in place at the time of you being a preteen, you being 8, 10 years old? Were there not things that like when do you take a step back and just take a step back and self-reflect on what are things that you sacrificed in order to fit in, whereas the next generation is saying, I rather be myself than fit in. So again, this is me just adding perspective and contextualizing, or just trying to add more context to why some people may have a certain perspective. But are you leaving things out and you're just going to live in this world of Gen Zs are just like super sensitive? They're too soft. They're too narcissistic, all this stuff. But are they not just being themselves in a world that has always been run by like narcissists? There's a lot of questions there. Again, we're here to discuss, go over topics, and, just be a little bit more informed. Okay, next one. Largest study of narcissism to date finds baby boomers are more sensitive than millennials. Okay. So we did the Gen Zs. Now we're on to baby boomers and millennials. Okay. I already read that. No battle has been waged harder the last few years than the one that pits baby boomers against millennials. Millennials always accuse baby boomers of being out of touch with how the world works today, and baby boomers always accuse millennials of being too sensitive and a generation full of entitlement. We're not sure how you feel about this debate, but the largest study of narcissism to date has revealed some very interesting truths that may give millennials the upper hand here. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ironically, did I not just say that maybe Gen Zs are just protecting themselves from the generation of people that like grew up from narcissism? But who knows? Who knows where we're going? Maybe I'm great at predicting things. The study, which was conducted by Michigan State University and published in the journal Psychology and Aging, has found that baby boomers are in fact more sensitive than millennials. Okay, before we even dive into this, my hypothesis is if baby boomers are more sensitive than millennials, I would only say that this is also like this is pretty much what I've been saying this whole time, that this is coming from a place of uh, a lack of self-respect and an inability to set boundaries and do exactly what you want to do would only create more projection about other people having more freedom. You know, that's my hypothesis for where the sensitivity would come from if baby boomers are more sensitive than millennials. So William Chopik, associate professor of psychology at MSU and lead author, said per Science Daily, there's a narrative in our culture that generations are getting more and more narcissistic, but no one has ever looked at it throughout generations or how it varies with age at the same time. Researchers use hypersensitivity to determine a person's level of defensiveness. Ooh, which Chopik defined as being unreceptive to others' feedback and lashing out at any criticism towards oneself. They found that younger generations are less hypersensitive than older generations. Chopik did note narcissism can be measured in a variety of ways, and researchers only focused on one of those methods, which could have skewed the results. See, it's always nice when like researchers can like point out where it's like, I'm saying this, but also this is where it could like create like a false representation. However, he still says the study offered some insight into the stereotype that suggests younger generations are more self centered than older ones. He said, based on our study, there's weak evidence that this younger generation is the worst in human history. Oh, bro, this isn't even an article. This isn't even an article. Listen on Audacity. Fuck off. Okay, well, that shits the bed. Cool. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay, I bet. So, with that being said, uh, uh, okay, well, okay, with that being said, I think I'm gonna end this here. I'm gonna end the segment here because, um, basically, this last article, which wasn't really like even a full blown article, upsetting, was leading us into the next topic that I wanted to discuss, and that was high conflict personality disorders and how high conflict personality disorders or tendencies reverberate throughout all of society. So, Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, I will be going live. If anybody has like wants to have a conversation about it, reach out to me. Um, but nonetheless, I will be doing like my small segment on it. There's always room to have like conversations, expand on different perspectives, all of that. But what I really wanted, the reason for going over this topic is because there's tendencies that I find, I would say that there's tendencies that impact individuals and impact our self respect for oneself. Is that even a proper sentence? Anyways, so the high conflict personality disorder tendencies just reverberate throughout society, and how they impact individuals is completely different. No, no, not completely different. Well, no, it is. Fuck. Why am I am struggling with this? So, high conflict personality disorder tendencies are something that I think every person needs to be aware of. The reason why I think you need to be aware of these tendencies is because you need to be able to protect yourself and set boundaries for yourself when these things are happening. Now, knowing these tendencies, the reason why I want to go over them isn't so that people can start diagnosing others. No, you are not licensed, or nor should you ever try to diagnose people. Also, when it comes to high conflict personality disorders, never try to diagnose them, because never try to diagnose someone who has a high conflict personality disorder, because if you tell them to their face that they are this, they will go out of their way to destroy you. So maybe not all the time, but oftentimes they will. Okay. They are hypersensitive to their egos being hurt. Got it? So avoid hurting their egos at all costs, because this is what they do. Now, I want to do a segment on the tendencies to make people more aware of what they may be secretly combating within their environment, work environments, home environments, just society in general. Being aware of what is attacking you and you don't even know how you, and a good example is just that there's another aspect of high conflict personality disorder tendencies that I want to go over, and it's being a negative advocate. And it's when you find yourself being on the side of someone that is like starting a smear campaign or something along those lines. And it's only after everything is said and done that you take a step back and you're like, oh, I was an accomplice to like some pretty messed up stuff. So yeah, this is why I want to go over that. And if you have learned from me, great. If you learn nothing, well, that sucks. Well, I'll do my best to do better next time. But ultimately, hopefully, you gain a little bit more perspective from these streams, these videos, and these talks. And in time, we will have guests and all this stuff. But nonetheless, yeah. Yeah, whether you love it, hate it, take it, or leave it, people. You do you. Be the best you that you could possibly be. And if you're doing that, well, you're being perfect. And yeah, with that being said, I will see you Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern on Twitch and YouTube. For now, who knows? Maybe I'll stop doing YouTube streams and just post the videos. Who knows? Who knows what we do? But yeah, till next time, I'll see you around. And hopefully, I don't know. I'll see you around. Okay? Whatever. Ciao. Bye. Bello. Take it easy. Bruh.